My name is Karen McClintock, and I'm with Walt Disney Parks and Resorts and Food and Beverage. And we are so excited to have you here to preview our newest and I think most creative restaurant. We have Be Our Guest Restaurant in Magic Kingdom Park. Now, a little bit later, you're going to have a taste of the menu. And first, we're going to introduce you to key cast members that have been an integral part of the storytelling for Be Our Guest. So we're going to start with Chris Beatty. Where's Chris? Oh, there he is. Come on up. He's the creative director and responsible for Magic Kingdom, Fantasyland expansion.
Yeah.
Correct? All right. Chris.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. So I thought I'd just take a few minutes and talk about the Be Our Guest restaurant. But really, I'd like to first just kind of set it up as to how it sets within the overall Fantasyland expansion, what's its place within the Fantasyland expansion. As you know, and you've probably heard that the Fantasyland expansion is, of course, doubling the size of Fantasyland. It's the largest expansion in the history of this park, and that is all true. And it is quite an honor for us as Imagineers to get to go into what is the heart of the Magic Kingdom, or the Magic Kingdom, and really get an opportunity to expand upon those classic stories in a classic land like Fantasyland. Because as you know, your trip to the Magic Kingdom is really defined by your time within Fantasyland. I mean, that's when you think of the Magic Kingdom, it's kind of the land you think of first. So once again, it's quite an honor as an Imagineer and for our team to be able to go and develop the ideas and add more to this great area. So just the other day, I was asked a question. I've done tons of interviews, and the other day I did an interview, and the person asked me, he said, "Well, what's your favorite part of the expansion?" And it took me a few minutes because I love every Imagineer. I love every part. I love the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train that we're designing because I think it's going to be this really cool, unique family thrill ride. And of course, I love the Enchanted Tales with Belle experience because we're really doing something new here, where we're breaking new ground with how our guests interact with our characters. And the Little Mermaid, what's not to love about that story and that attraction, and how it takes you under the sea to visit Ariel and Ursula and all your favorite characters. So there is something in expansion I love. I have my own personal reasons for loving. But I think the one I am most excited about, and I think I'm most excited to see our guests get to go in for the first time and cross that bridge and go into the door, it's got to be this restaurant, the Be Our Guest restaurant. I can't say enough how spectacular it is. And that moment that you will walk into the ballroom really captures the spirit of walking in for the very first time to that moment where Belle and Bee's first dance. It's really there. And it's every day I walk through it, it just amazes me, the detail and the storytelling. It really, at the heart of what we do as Imagineers, it checks all the boxes. If you think of immersive storytelling, this is it. And when you cross the bridge, it's the textures, it's the paint, and every division within, every division that's worked on this project, they brought something to the story. So, I always tell a story about rock work, right? And you think, wow, just the guys who carved the rocks. It's a restaurant and it's rock work. Like, how can there be a story there? Well, there is. That the rock work for the restaurant is, if you look at it, it's the beast restaurant. And so the rock work is sharp and it's angular. It's like the claws of the beast, right? And it's you want it to be a little foreboding. Do I really cross that bridge and enter into the restaurant? Should I be here? Right? We want you to question yourself just a little bit before you enter. And so, the rock work carvers are part of the storytellers. Yeah. Then, we come back with the people who are painting and our artisans who are incredible artists and what story did they bring? And so the painters are adding, if you go out there today, they're adding moss and they're adding aging and they're making the statues and the architectural ornamentation look like it's been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it amazes me what, 3 years ago was a little foam block of on a piece of table that a guy was whittling away is now this 200-year-old statue that sits out there that's holding up the arches as you cross into the restaurant. And so it's those things that excite me about it, that wow me every time, even though I've seen this restaurant for 3 years, it just amazes me. The mosaics that you're going to find when you walk inside, and the attention to detail on those mosaics, and the stories they tell. It's a restaurant, but there's even a linear story within the restaurant. So as our guests cross that bridge and they enter in, all the finishes are hard. They're cold. They're foreboding, right? it's right as the, it's been enchanted. It's not the beautiful Belle Castle or Beast Castle you see at the end of the film. And so for our guests, they'll enter into a place that has a very kind of austere presence. And then you'll turn, and we introduce wood, and we introduce carpet for the first time in the suit of armor hallway, and the room softens a little bit until you find yourself in that room where Belle and Maurice first got out of the rain and the snow, and they warmed themselves by the fire. And it's the very first time that they sort of interact with the enchanted objects that live in the castle. And so we've recreated that room, and it has the fireplace in the corner with the big cozy chair. That's going to be a great photo op, and of course that's part of the journey, right? And that room warms itself for the very first time. It's got a great feel to it. And of course, the next room that you enter into, the fourth kind of step in this journey takes us into the ballroom, and it's just spectacular. It is incredible. And then, of course, I think one of the other big elements that really plays a critical role in making this restaurant successful is the music. All of our classic films, the music plays such an important part. It's same here in the restaurant. To walk into the ballroom and hear those classic orchestrations, and it's just amazing, and it really brings the room to life. And yesterday was really the first time I actually got to enter the space and see pretty much everyone cleared out, everything kind of polished and cleaned up, and they were playing the musical score, and I walked through it like 7 o'clock at night. There was no one else in the restaurant, and it almost made you cry. It was an incredible moment. So it's exciting. I think it's like giving birth to one of your children. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see guests cross the bridge, enter into those doors. They're going to love it. It really takes you there. So I think the last piece of the puzzle, of course, it wouldn't be a restaurant without food. And I've bragged about the food for this restaurant since I had my first tasting, and the chefs have done an unbelievable job. Unbelievable. Food, and the type of food that you serve in the restaurant, it's just as important as the rock work that I mentioned, or the music that I mentioned, or the paint finishes, the mosaics. It's just as important to sort of finish off that story. So I think you're in for a treat if you've had your tasting, which is coming up right after this. It's fantastic, and we're really, really excited. I think it's probably the best theme park food I've ever had. I've been to a lot of theme parks. But it is setting a standard, which is great, because I think the Fantasyland expansion will set a standard within our parks. And so I'm really, really excited. So thank you all. See you again. Anything else?
Yeah, any questions?
Anybody have questions?
We got a couple of minutes.
No? Come on, you.
With the menu and the food, since that's what we're here for, can you speak a little bit to how the movie kind of inspired? I mean, obviously the French theme, but anything else that really played into designing it?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time back in California. Walt Disney Imagineering, we're fortunate to be located right across the street from the Animation Research Library. And that is a great resource for us. So it's easy for us just to run downstairs, hop across, walk across the street, and be able to pull those drawers out and pull out all the background paintings, all the animation cells that we have in our archives. And we did that. We spent many afternoons over there just digging through the paintings and looking at the smallest details. And if you go back and you watch the film, and our fans will do this, we know they will, there are some very obscure little details and little moments within the film that are just there in a blink of an eye. And because we have that ability to do that, there are a lot of those elements within the restaurant that I think our fans will miss. It's just the layering that they'll be able to really, I think, appreciate. So that was one element. We also watched that movie, who knows how many times, lunch. It was lunch meeting after lunch meeting. It was, after a while, it was like, Beauty and the Beast again. Could we watch The Little Mermaid? I think we started talking when Tuesday was Beauty and the Beast Day. That helped us too, and it's just like I said, it's a great honor to be able to go back and build a place that immerses our guests in that moment, that really lets our guests step through. And it's what Walt, I think, what he meant when he built Fantasyland. It's what he was trying to create, right? Was a place where guests could actually step into his animated stories. You could actually go and visit Belle and Beast in the place they fell in love, or you could journey down to the path and go visit Maurice in the cottage, or set off on this incredible adventure to go meet the Little Mermaid. So those types of the films really inspired us, and we, like I said, we met with some of the animators, we met with some of the the directors, and we spent a lot of time talking to them, and all those things kind of helped us as we started to design the restaurant. Yes, sir.
You mentioned
Oh,
enchanted
I'm sorry, ma'am. The
objects.
light is in my way. I cannot see that table at all. I apologize.
You mentioned enchanted objects. Are there going to be enchanted objects in the restaurant?
No, there are no enchanted objects in the restaurant. Well, actually, no, that's a lie.
Good.
There are some enchanted objects in the restaurant. I take that back. I forgot. Yes, but I will hold that
For another
surprise for
time.
when we open. Yes, but there are some. Yes.
Chris, would you talk a little bit about the flow from the different dining rooms that you have there and what challenges you might have had from the Imagineering standpoint to have 3 distinct rooms inside the one restaurant?
Well, first there's design. Of course, I think the ballroom being as spectacular as it is, and it is the largest of the 3 rooms, that was pretty easy. As far as, well, we definitely want to create the ballroom, and we know we want it to be grand and beautiful and spectacular. Easy. We also, when we start talking about, well, we have a couple other rooms we need to help develop. What do we want those to be? And we just thought, as doing our research, we said, well, where else would we like to go within the film, in the castle? With Enchanted Tales with Belle, we kind of take you to the library, and the library didn't seem like another place we wanted to duplicate. But we definitely said we wanted to take us to the West Wing, and we thought, wow, that's a great opportunity to have a completely different texture and palette. So if the ballroom is this beautiful golden, gilded, place, the West Wing is the complete opposite. It's the beast, it's the personality of the beast and his rage and his fury, and you'll see the tapestries are shredded, the wallpaper's clawed. It looks like any moment he could come busting through the doors and catch you there, right? And that was intentional. The canopy of the bed is shredded, and even the portrait of the prince that hangs on the wall has an amazing special effect that when the lightning flashes, it transforms into the beast, and it's shredded and torn too, and he's sort of ashamed of what he has done and who he's become. So that was a definite room that we want to say, you know what, love that. And as a small room, to me it holds up to the big ballroom. Like in there, it's smaller, but it has just as much personality, just as much presence. And then we had a third room to develop, and we said, well, we want this room to sort of be different than the other 2. And what would it be? And we love this idea of the rose motif and repeating that over and over and over again within the restaurant. And we said, well, why don't we create sort of a rose gallery? Every castle has a great gallery space in it, and a collection of roses. We liked that because it let us tell a little bit more of the story about who else lives in the castle. And that interested us. We thought, the ballroom is all about Belle and Beast, the West Wing is all about the Beast, but the gallery lets us tell about, talk about Mrs. Potts and Chip and the Madame Wardrobe and Lumiere and Cogsworth, and it was a great way for us to introduce artwork and other visuals that told that story. And it has its own unique, of the 3 rooms, it's actually probably my favorite. It's gorgeous. It has this beautiful sort of cherry wood finish with this green upholstery, and it's just a very exquisite space. And I'm excited because I think all 3 rooms have something unique about them. And then, of course, that space has a very special centerpiece, which is the music box, which is really, really pretty. Really pretty. I think there's a question over here, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, going back over those cells like you said you did with your team, did you have an appreciation for what it would have taken to create real sets for the movies now that you're basically creating real sets for the movie?
Yeah, I think, especially in Beauty and the Beast, if you go back and you really slow down that film and you watch you look at the castle scenes, the hardest part is just capturing the grandeur of it in a real set, right? And so we try to do a lot of things that, the classic Imagineers who came before us, the forced perspective illusions and the forced shortening and trying to make things look bigger than they really are when you enter into a space or you spend time in a space. That was a challenge, especially with a castle. And I think we've done a great job with that. I think it'll pay off nicely. The detail is one of the hardest things to do too, or really capture. If you go back and look at the film, that castle was really eerie. We actually had to tone it down from what it really looked like in the film. It was a dark place. It had some scary statuary and some motifs, and we were like, what, it's probably not right for the Magic Kingdom. Even though it wants to be scary, the Magic Kingdom is it's still a happy place. It's still a place that very optimistic. And, it's okay to be a little dark, but we didn't want to go that dark. And so we actually had to tone down some of those moments from the film when we looked at finishing out the space. And so that was a big challenge. So I think it was just the physical space and the scale of it. And then, just the decor was there and the storytelling that was inside. Both were challenges.
Is there a dance floor at all?
No. Move some tables and chairs around. Great dance hall. No, not today. Okay. Questions? Yes?
On that rendering, can you show us where it is?
So the video guest shop. Very good. Entering through the castle wall, which a portion of the castle wall opened up this morning. If you haven't seen it out in the park, it looks spectacular. You enter through the castle wall, you take the left here, you'll cross over the bridge here, and then this takes you into the passage that leads you into the Beast Castle. So it's the castle sits up on top of the mountain here in the rendering. That approach is going to be great because there's a 30-foot waterfall that's coming out of the top of the mountain here that runs multiple little falls once it hits the riverbed, and it goes all the way underneath and kind of connects back to the Seven Horse Mine Train. So water, when we started developing the expansion, we wanted a lot of water in the development. It plays such a crucial role, I think, in softening an environment. It makes a place more comfortable. It was one of the elements that we felt like in Fantasyland we were missing, just because there was a lot of hardscape in that land initially. So the forest let us introduce elements like shade trees and water and a softer side of Fantasyland, and that excited us. Anyone else?
How big of a restaurant is it?
Diego, 550 seats. 500, yeah. It's big. But it doesn't, you asked about the challenge of design. The ballroom feels just right. It's about 320 seats, I think, in the ballroom in that range. I off a few, but it's just big enough that you feel it captures the grandness, the grandeur of that moment from the film, but it doesn't overwhelm you at the same time. And then, adding the extra 2 rooms gave us more story within the restaurant that let us control. 500 seats is a lot, but it doesn't feel like 500 seats. It was kind of worked out really well.
And there'll be character dining as well?
No, there's no character dining. Anyone else?
What was your favorite part of working on this project?
My favorite part of working on this project? The people. I think it's been great for me because I got to build a great team, and they're fantastic, and you end up working with your friends. So I think that's always great, and you're doing something that is truly inspiring. So that was a lot of fun. Also, getting to know the Florida team down here. I'm from California. Most of my team is from California, so it was a great opportunity to come down and get to partner for the first time with the Walt Disney World folks, and they're all great people. It amazes me every day how they can turn that side and try to make, they do their best to make every person who walks in that door every day the happiest day ever. And so that's impressive. And so it's great for us to get to spend time to understand their challenges and their needs. And I think so there's been a great partnership there. And I think of all the things I'll take away from it, it's probably that. This is great. It'll be fantastic. I love all of it. But it is, there are other parts to a big project like this that you probably don't think of as a guest. And it really is the connections and the partnerships that you make along the way. It's good. It's great. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Anything else? Great.